What's going on, Falcon fan? This boy Rakundo coming back at you with another video. Today we're going to talk about David Onyemata from the New Orleans Saints coming in, signing a 3-year deals with these Atlanta Falcons following his defensive line coach, Ryan Nielsen, and who's now our defensive coordinator for these Atlanta Falcons. We're going to talk about how he can definitely impact the Atlanta Falcons going into 2023. And since he signed a 3-year deal, what it looks like moving on for the future. Well, guys, so before we get into that, if you have not already, go ahead, please subscribe to this channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here that I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about these Atlanta Falcons. So guys, we've been talking about this for years. Ever since Grady Jarrett had that 3-sack game in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. We all know what happened on that Super Bowl. But Grady Jarrett, had his coming out party. And ever since then, trust me, when offensive lines get ready to prepare for the Atlanta Falcons, they always looking at Grady Jarrett, trying to figure out how they're going to stop him from a defensive standpoint, because he can definitely wreck plays during games, and he have shown it year in. That's why he'd have signed 3 contracts with these Atlanta Falcons. I know you guys remember back in 2020, we played Detroit Lions when 3 guys was actually blocking Grady alone, and he asked, "He ain't blocking nobody else?" Well, hopefully this year, with the defensive additions that the Atlanta Falcons have added, maybe we can get that question. Yes, you have to block somebody else, right? We're not going to talk about all the additions. We know who they are. Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, Eddie Goldman coming back out of retirement, the emergence of Taquan Graham, right? But today we're going to talk about David Onyemata, because he's the guy that the Atlanta Falcons signed on a 3-year deal. We know he's 30 years old, but still sort of in his prime, and I think it's a good addition. And the reason why I'm going to say that, because of 4 different things that we can definitely think about when we talk about David Onyemata. The first thing is the familiarity with Ryan Nielsen, right? Terry Fontenot. Everybody knows who this guy is. They know what kind of man he is. They talk about the character they bring in, guys. Even though, in 2021, David Onyemata got suspended 6 games for his PEDs, right? But he came back. They know what kind of guy. He's been steadily improving every year in the NFL since that time. So you got to like his progression. I still think he has a lot of football left, and what he can actually bring to this Atlanta Falcons defense, because, like I said, he can help, Grady and the other defensive guys get familiar with the system, what Ryan Nielsen like, how he want to coach this team. And that's what I really like about bringing a guy like David Onyemata in, his familiarity with Ryan Nielsen, and I think it's going to really help a guy like Grady Jarrett. But the second thing is the fact that he is actually playing alongside Grady Jarrett, right? We talk about the double teams and things like that, but I believe just because he's playing beside Grady, it's going to actually help him be even better, because trust me, when they going into games and offensive scheme, they're worrying about Grady first, right? So that's going to help David Onyemata, because now he might actually be able to get, single coverage sometimes going out, because they're going to try to stop Grady, because we know Grady is going to be able to wreck games if he's not double teamed, right? So you have to like that. Playing aside Grady Jarrett is actually going to improve David Onyemata's stock himself and the things he's going to be able to do. All right. The third thing, which is interesting, and you go back and look, and this is according to Pro Football Focus. Of course, I'm not the guy that go out and tell you about numbers and stats and things like that. We get our information for guys, because I'm not that detailed of a coach to go in and look at every play and see how accurate these are. But this is according to Pro Football Focus. David Onyemata is really not that great against the run, right? He is known for more of a better pass rusher than he is a run defender, right? So that's an interesting thing to note about David Onyemata. He's one of the best pass rusher interior linemen in the league, but when it comes to run defense, not so much. So according to Pro Football Focus, looking at David Onyemata, out of 143 interior defensive linemen, he's actually 85th on that list, right? So that's not as high as you would like for a guy that you want to come in and be able to stop the run. 85th on the list. But what's interesting, if you look at a guy like Taquan Graham, right, who played beside Grady last year, he was actually 13th out of 143 in run defense. So playing aside Grady, you saw what it was able to do for a guy like Taquan Graham. Or Taquan Graham could just be a better run defender, right? But I think the fact that playing beside a guy like Grady Jarrett actually helps the other guy that's playing beside him, because Taquan Graham was ranked 13th in the league last year in stopping run defense. This is according to Pro Football Focus, of course, but that's the difference. Now, if you take that, when I talk about his pass rush abilities, he's actually 35th out of 92 interior defense line in pass rushers. So the big difference there, right? 85th in the run defense, but you're going all the way to 35th in pass defense, where Taquan Graham is actually 82 out of 92 in pass defense. So you see that difference between a guy like David Onyemata, his ability to rush the passer, which we really definitely need, right? David Onyemata had 5 sacks last season. I definitely think that's really going to help the Atlanta Falcons. All right, he would have been second on the team last year with those 5 sacks, right? From interior standpoint. So his pass rush ability is definitely going to help the Atlanta Falcons with the pass rush. He actually had 43 tackles. He had 25 pressures, right? That's a lot for interior defensive pass rusher, and you love to see that from David Onyemata, right? But I believe playing beside Grady is definitely going to help him. So think about that rotation that I talked about, right? Being able to start the run. The one thing that we definitely want to get out of this defensive front this year, and which I think is tremendously a lot better than it was last year, is being able to stop the run on first and second downs, and then get into the pass rush where we can let our guys be able to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback, right? But from an interior standpoint, a guy like Grady and a guy like David Onyemata bringing that pressure from the inside, which he hasn't had before, is definitely going to help. And then that's when you'll be able to get the guys from the outside to probably and more likely get more sacks on the outside, because that pressure from the inside is coming in, making the quarterback go outside the pockets to get out his pass lanes, right? That's what you want to get the quarterback off his spot. That pressure from the inside from a guy like Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata, pressure inside is really going to be good. The interesting thing also, what I'm thinking about, is what kind of defense are these guys going to play, right? Last year they was in a 3-4, hybrid 4-3. If they're going to actually do that again, because like I said, I kind of like the idea of Taquan Graham being in there on first and second down as well. So if they go a 4-man front, vice a 3-man front, because I think if they go 3-man, it's going to be Grady, David Onyemata, and Calais Campbell, that 3-man front. Then you have your outside linebackers on the side. But if they decide to go a 4-man front, I can see a guy like Taquan Graham sliding in to that position. Don't want to forget a guy like Eddie Goldman, because Eddie Goldman, the way he played in Chicago, it's been 2 years, but if he can, just conjure up any of that pressure that he has, that rotation from that defensive front is definitely going to be good, because you have a guy like Taquan and a guy like Eddie Goldman coming in and actually, hopefully the Falcons won't lose a beat from the interior side, right? Then you have the guys on the outside, the guy like Lorenzo Carter, Bud Dupree, Arnold Ebiketie, and D'Angelo Malone coming from the outside, bringing the outside pressure. But David Onyemata, his ability to rush the passer from the inside, I think that's going to be the biggest games that we're going to see this year from the Atlanta Falcons, from the interior. Now, we'll be interested to see, like I said, that rush defense, we got to be able to stop that. That's one of the things I did not like from Atlanta last year. They could not get, off the field on first and second down, because they was getting too many rushing yards on those downs, and then put the Atlanta Falcons in really disadvantages on third down, because it was a lot of times it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 1s, and that the offense has the advantage at that point when you get in 3rd and short. So what you want to try to create from any defensive standpoint is try to get the offense in those 3rd and longs. On first down, if you can make a stop and put them, loss of yards, or 2nd and 10, and things like that. Now the advantage is back on the defense, right? And then when you get in 3rd and long, now you know that it's got to be some kind of pass play, some kind of screen play, or something like that. So now the hands fall back into the defense to be able to scheme things like that. But I believe David Onyemata definitely should have a better opportunity to up that run defense, because they playing beside a guy like Grady Jarrett and Calais Campbell on the other side. And then once they get into the pass down, he can do what he does best, and that's actually rush the passer. Really good tackle for losses. His pressure is really what we need. And then those guys from the backside, those inside linebackers, Troy Anderson, Ken Ellis, like I said, the guys from the outside coming in to wreak the havoc. I really believe that this defense can definitely get past the 21 sacks this year. Not going to say they're going to get to those Eagle numbers from last year, 70-some sacks, but hopefully the Falcons can definitely get to 40, 48 to 50 sacks. The New Orleans Saints had 48 last year. We can get somewhere around that. That would be awesome for this Atlanta Falcons team. But I believe David Onyemata, pressure from the inside, is what going to really take for the Atlanta Falcons. I really, like I said, find it interesting about the fact that that Taquan numbers from the rush defense, which I was really impressed with Taquan last year, right? But that difference between him and David Onyemata was so vast, from the rush defense to the pass defense. So hopefully playing beside Grady can up that number for David Weiss. And hopefully, a guy like Taquan Graham can, get better in his pass rushes as well. So that's what I like. The last thing I want to say about the addition of David Onyemata is like I mentioned numerous times, not just on this podcast, on other podcasts, is the defensive rotation. I think the competition is really going to be good this training camp, because of the rotations and how deep this defensive line is. I mean, guys, we don't talk about. Timmy Horn played really well. Once Taquan Graham went down, not a household name, but you expect him to actually get better this year as well. We already talked about a guy like Eddie Goldman coming in, trying to get back to the way he was in Chicago. Hopefully, we talked about Gaziano, guy we brought over from the Chargers as well. The things that he actually can bring for the defensive line. Don't forget about our rookies, Zach Harrison, Bud Dupree, Lorenzo Carter, and then our other two guys, second-year guys, in Armor Ebiketie and D'Angelo Malone. So this defense is definitely have potential to actually up all the numbers that it had last year. The main thing for me is that rush defense to get us into third downs for a guy like David Onyemata that can do what he does best, and that's get after the pass rusher, get off the passer, the quarterback, and do the pass rush, right? And playing alongside Grady Jarrett, I think is really going to be one of the biggest factors going to help him improve. So, guys, let me know what you think about David Onyemata. Did the Falcons, kind of make a mistake because they gave a 30-year-old a 3-year deal? In my opinion, no, because it just fits, right? Sometimes you get a guy to come in, like I said, his old defensive line coach, who's not a defensive coordinator, playing beside a guy like Grady Jarrett, playing to his strengths, what I think they're going to be able to do with him this year in the pass rush. I think David Onyemata can have a really, really good season playing beside these other guys, these really good veterans with the Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, let me know what you think about a guy like David Onyemata. Can he be another factor for this Atlanta Falcon defense this year? This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another Peace.